Welcome, Rachel, for the Love of Group Fitness podcast. Very lovely to have you here with me.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we've it's taken a few goes to get us here, but we're here now, and we got together through, was it Bob Asquari?
Jessica from Team Up.
Oh, Jessica from Team Up. Yes.
Yes.
So we managed to get together, had a conversation, and I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation, and so we're here so we can get to know you a little bit better, and share your story really, which I think is really inspiring, and what you've done and what you're planning to do. So for our listeners, tell us a bit about how you kind of ended up in the fitness industry and what you're doing today.
Okay. Well, I think as most of us women in the fitness industry, we all start with Group X, I think. So I started my career in fitness about 23 years ago, teaching classes. And then as I moved to New York City, I evolved into a personal trainer where I focused on that for about 15 years. And during that time, I also wanted to get a health coaching certification because I really am, as my career evolved, I really realized that there's so much more to your relationship with clients and your relationship with people that you work with, because there's so much as women that we have to deal with. We have to deal with our bodies. We have to deal how we think about our bodies. And I mean, it's just never ending, I'm sure, you know. So I got my health coach certification. And then as time went on, living happy, doing my thing in New York, of course, May of 2020 happened. And I had lots of time on my hands. And I decided at that point, why not invest in myself? Why not take a chance and write a book that I've kind of had in the back of my mind for quite some time? And so I did that. And with my book, I even though it's about me and my story and how I've gone through all these diets and weight losses and weight gains, I really wrote it for women. And I wrote it because I wanted women to know that they weren't alone. So many times I hear all the time, I'm the only one who feels like that, or I'm the only one who feels this way about my body. And that's just not true. So why not bridge that gap and bring women together?
Wonderful. I think, yeah, and your book is called The Doughnut Diaries. Yes. I love the title. How did you come up with that title?
Well, that is a story in of itself. I love donuts, you know, and as an adult, you're always told that is one of the foods that are like, no, you can never eat again. But they had fond childhood memories for me. And I actually really love a donut. So when I decided that I was going to stop restricting food in general, and I wasn't going to have a bad list and a good list anymore, donut was the first thing that I had. And it was such a fun and beautiful and freeing experience that I thought, what better title for my book than the Doughnut Diaries?
Wonderful. So this all leads on into the certainly the fitness industry as a whole, and certain aspects of group fitness as well, where I remember years ago there was a massive thing in the UK press. It hit national press about fitness instructors having to look a certain way, that it wasn't healthy if the instructor was on the larger side. I mean, I couldn't believe it hit national news at the time, and but it did, and it brought up a lot of conversation about that. So it's kind of almost, we're supposed to be a role model. So how can we be advocating exercise, a healthy lifestyle, and not look a certain way? What are your thoughts on that, and how have things changed and shifted over the years?
Well, I remember what you're talking about, and I have myself been told many times in my career that I didn't have a body that was I didn't look like a fitness person. So I get that. I get that on a personal level, and I get that on so many levels. I will say the great news is that, yes, that is definitely shifting in our time we're in now. And many women has always been capable and strong and wonderful instructors are at least being more accepted now. Now, is it something that's gone away completely, that judgment? Of course not. And that's going to take some time. But yes, it has shifted.
Mm. Do you think there is a shift? That's not the right question. Do you think there's a difference between perceptions in group fitness as opposed to, say, personal training?
I haven't been solely in the group exercise space in such a long time that I don't feel 100% comfortable answering that. But
okay,
if you will allow me to just say, in fitness as a whole, I definitely see a shift in the mindset, the acceptance, and that there are more women trainers who look like the rest of us.
yeah, and I think with anything, there are pockets, though, aren't there, of different approaches, and therefore, because even in the yoga world, I remember going to San Francisco for a yoga conference, and it was one particular teacher from India, and through that teacher's lineage, we have Ashtanga yoga, Iyengar yoga, and the Vinyasa approach, and you could tell the participants from a mile off, oh, they do Ashtanga, they do, and it was just different, just the way they wore, the clothes they wore were different, let alone body shape, and so if that can happen in the yoga world, and it can also definitely happen in the fitness world with the different approaches. So how was that journey for you, through writing your book? And, did you have any revelations? Was it an easy journey?
It was an easy journey because I was very comfortable at that point with my story. And what I mean by that is it was not going to be all wins and frou-frou and I'm this and I did all this. It was like I failed a ton of times and I have gained back the weight I've lost every single time. So I felt it was easy in that aspect where I knew I was able to tell the truth. So that felt great. The writing of the book part was something new for me, and it was a wonderful experience. I definitely had moments where I was remembering a story and I would cry and I would, but it was just all a lovely experience, and I actually can't wait to do it again.
Wonderful. How did you get to that stage of self-acceptance?
It took a long time. I definitely want to be as honest and transparent with your listeners as I can. I had this beautiful kind of epiphany when I turned 40, and that for me charted this whole, that was 11 years ago. I'm now 51, almost 52, and I'm still working on it. I still feel like this is something, because I lived in that life, in that headspace for almost 40 years, that I can't expect it to just go away. Yes, I love myself. Yes, I accept my body. And yes, I take action to move the best I can for as long as I can. But I do have my days where those old memories and those old thoughts and feelings creep up. But I've had enough time under my belt to say, hey, this is just a moment. This is just a moment in your life. Or a moment in the day, and you are a beautiful, healthy, capable woman, and I'm able to go on. As opposed to 10, 11 years ago, those thoughts were constant, and it was almost like debilitating at times. So I have definitely come a long way, but I don't want to ever make it seem like, hey, I decided to love my body no matter what size it was, and there it is. And it's not like that. You have to really open up your heart and open up your mind to this change.
Did you kind of go through this journey yourself, or did you seek help?
Both. It was a lot of things that I had to do on my own, meaning I couldn't depend on my mom or my parents or my friends or my partner. That kind of raw emotional stuff I had to deal with by myself.
Mm.
But I definitely had a therapist at that time who was a good therapist for me, because he wasn't trying to rush the process for me. And he really was allowing me to get there on my own, with his, like, being in that safe environment, but not doing the work for me. I hope that made sense.
Yeah, no, I think sometimes, certainly the group fitness instructors that I'm aware of, is that, we've done our training and you're out there and it can feel quite lonely. And we, and whether it's a female thing or we think we've got to be able to do everything for everybody and we put ourselves last. And then we're going through a lot of this emotional stuff and hormonal stuff. And then we think that we've got to go through it alone. And sometimes that's the biggest step, isn't it? To be able to reach out and ask for help.
Yes, you're very right about that. I think it's a very interesting place to be, like you asked me, doing some of the work by myself and doing some of the work with another person. But I think, to your point, I'm referring to a professional. It wasn't, or whatever. So I think that is, a therapy is always valuable. I truly believe that. I've used it many times throughout my life. So I have always believed in the value of therapy. But I also believe that in the last few years that people are starting to understand the value of self-care, the value of resting, because, that expression, you can't pour from an empty cup. And I do love that expression because it comes with a visual thought.
Yeah.
And that is so true. And us as fitness and wellness professionals, it's important for us to take that time for ourselves, since we are always helping other people, for sure.
Absolutely. I so agree with you. I just wanted to go back to the whole thing about acceptance of therapy. I just wonder, I don't think the British are as open. I don't think, and then for myself, coming from Malaysia, from the Far East, that's like even worse, So I don't know whether, I think there's a cultural kind of acceptance that therapy is okay, or getting therapy means I'm weak, and I think it's okay to lean into, and we should, right? We don't think twice about seeing a physiotherapist, or when we've got something physically wrong with us, why wouldn't we look at counselor or other forms of therapists as well? I think it's I think it's a cultural thing there that we need to kind of break down as well. Yeah.
Well, I hope so, because I think that the focus on mental health in the past few years has become much more open. And I am hearing about it in other countries and other cultures as well. So let's keep our fingers crossed.
And I think, with the whole lockdown and, the few years of lockdown, I think it's made everything so much more accessible, which is a good thing. Because then, because you're able to sit and see, oh, wow, that's happening in a different country, a different culture. And, oh, why didn't I thought about that before, And it makes therapists more accessible, because they can do stuff online as well, can't they? So, I was talking to a friend recently, and I'm the other side of menopause, and having gone through hormonal changes, and my friend's currently going through these changes, and it's this whole acceptance or struggle accepting the changes in body shape. It's tough, I think, for a lot of instructors who've probably gone through their 40s, etc., and being like okay, and then suddenly with the hormonal shifts, they're like, I don't know this body anymore. What advice have you got for them?
Well, I think that's why the work that I'm doing with so many other women is so important at that stage, because the tendency is to get upset and angry and feel betrayed by your body. And I think this is the time where we need to be open to shifting our mindset even more. Maybe the type of workout that you've been doing for 20 years isn't going to work for you now. You need to change that. Or the type of diet that you have been on. And when I use the word diet, I mean your lifestyle, how you eat normally. I don't mean fad diet.
Yeah.
I think that may need to shift somehow. As long as you're open to changing, or let me rephrase, as long as you're open to the changes that you may or may not need to make for yourself, I think that's very valuable, especially during that time, because I'm where your friend is. We are now in the beginning stages of this. So I am noticing changes in my body too. And I think because I've been on this journey for a while now, I'm maybe a tad more accepting of it because I don't have a choice, right? I have no choice in this time in my life. So I might as well make it the most comfortable I can be and the best experience that I can make it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, I know my body is shifted. Like I mean, there's a whole different conversation, isn't it, about this time in someone's life where hormones are wreaking havoc with your body. I had no idea that joints would ache. I was like, what's that about? I was kind of expecting a hot flash. I was expecting to maybe perhaps put on a little bit of weight with my body shape changing slightly, but I didn't expect my joints to ache. I was like, oh, no, you know, and it was just acceptance. And I don't know, for me, it's such a personal journey. I don't think, I never, ever believed or advocated that one size fits all throughout my entire career, let alone now. And I think everyone needs to be treated as an individual and have to accept their individual journey, don't they? Really?
Yeah. Yes. As long as we as fitness professionals really kind of lean into that. I love that expression that you use. I think that we can continue to help each other because we are all individuals.
Yeah. So tell our listeners a little bit about, the whole process of writing and publishing a book. I think because some people everyone's got stories to tell, right? And I think everyone's story is valid. So how was that process for you?
Mine is very special because that was the one thing that was holding me back for so long in writing a book, because I didn't feel confident that I was a writer. And when I made the decision that this was something I really wanted to do, and your listeners may or may not agree or believe, but I believe when you make a choice and you make a decision for yourself, the universe just provides you what you need. So I ended up having a conversation with a friend who told me a client of hers wrote a book, but in a very different way. It's called the You Speak It program. So this publisher has created a program where you get on phone calls, you tell your story, they transpose the conversation into a manuscript, you have to approve and blah, blah, blah. So the entire process took about a year from beginning to actually being a live book. And I just was like, this is how I'm going to do it. I'm so excited. It worked very well for me, but it also, when I got the manuscript and I kind of looked it over and realized that it was a great start, it was a great foundation, but it wasn't quite what I wanted to bring into the world. So I spent another couple months using that foundation and really writing my book. So I do get to honestly say that I wrote my book, which I'm proud of, but they really helped me create something that I would be proud of.
Yeah, I think, I've listened to some book coaches before, and I came across one who basically said, just speak it. If you're not, if actually typing and writing is stopping you from starting, she said, actually just talk it. And then from there, you get something like a working document that you can then edit, add to, delete, and like what you're saying, create your final product from it. Yeah.
And I think if you realize that there are people, for professional people, whatever part of that journey that you're not so confident in, like for me, it was the editing process. you can hire someone to do that for you, so don't, like you said, don't let the one thing that you are not so sure about stop you, because there are professionals out there that do just that.
What was it like receiving your actual book, hard copy book? How did that feel?
It felt so amazing. I just remember real quickly, I remember reading my final draft one more time, knowing that there's nothing else I could take away or add. It was just, this is it for now. And I remember going and hugging my boyfriend and just crying, being like, I did this. I can't believe I did this. And then when the actual live book came, it was mailed to me, a box of these beautiful books with this beautiful cover. And I just was so proud of myself. It was a wonderful feeling.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I think earlier on in our conversation, you alluded to like maybe another book, or did I dream that?
No, I said it out. I'm putting it out in the universe.
Yeah, cool. So what did you feel that perhaps wasn't covered or in the first book? Or do you feel that is it a continuation, or is it on something completely different potentially?
It's not completely different. It's just a different, how do I say this without giving too much away at this point? In the past year and a half that my book has been out and the conversations I've had, I realized that there's an audience that I didn't target. So that's what I'd like to do.
Okay. Yeah. Because I think a book, because you're obviously you're a health coach, you're a professional speaker as well. So, having a book is almost like a calling card, isn't it? It kind of exposes you to an audience who perhaps might not be ready to work with you. Do you see it that way?
I'm not sure if maybe I'm not following your question, but I don't see it that way. I definitely know that there are women that I work with that are older, our age, younger women, women who might have struggled in lots of ways in their life. And then I also work with little girls. So I'm definitely trying to get my message out there as early. And I'm still seeing women in their golden years, as we call them, who are still struggling with this stuff. And it's just like, let it go, be happy, enjoy the rest of your life. So I'm trying to get out there to all women. Okay.
Yeah, no, but what I think I've worked with several business coaches in the past, and the way they see it is that, the bigger your reach, then the potential to then also end up working with people either in a group setting or one-to-one is greater, because you've got a larger audience to draw from. Excuse me.
Bless you, if that was
sorry. Yeah. Just edit this bit out. Okay, so I've got a question for you here. Why do you think, as women, we have this perception of ourselves? Why do we seem to have this issue with our bodies and self-love and self-confidence? Where do you think it comes from?
Well, I know where it comes from, but it's so simple that it's hard for people to accept. We are literally, from the time we are able to listen and process information, we hear other women as close as our mothers, our sisters, our grandmothers, to other women out in the world talk about their body. It is something that we are taught at such a very early age, that the package that we come in, the vessel we come in, is not good enough. There's always something to complain about. There's always something to pick on. And it becomes socially acceptable in female groups, almost as a bonding, that we talk badly about our bodies. And if we just start teaching little girls and ourselves that is really where the problem is how we speak about our own bodies and how we accept early on that our bodies are not good enough. I know it. Like I said, I know it seems so simple, but it's so true.
There's obviously, aside from what can take place within the home setting, there's media.
Mhm.
So, you know, hypothetically, if a child is being brought up right, you know, till they end up going to school in a very body positive kind of body acceptance environment at home, the minute they go to school and perhaps they're exposed more and more to social media these days, or just the media,
Mhm.
it's harder to control. Or do you think that the foundation is strong enough if they're able to kind of have that from birth, if you like, before they leave the home and head
I
out
hear
to
what you're
school?
saying, and I believe that yes, if our parents and the people in the adults in our life create that strong foundation, even though you're still inundated with it when you're outside the home, being able to feel safe with that person. Like if I were a little girl to come home and I said, Mom, this is what the girls are talking about, or this is what I saw on social media. As the parent, being able to continue that conversation and say, yep, this is out there, but this is who you are. This is how I see you. This is how I would love for you to see yourself. And let's do strengthening exercises. You know, I have a plethora of hot pink Post-its that I give to my girls all the time, and they have to write something positive about themselves. It can be about your body, or it can be about something, just who you are. And you have to say it out loud every day. And I think that when you do stuff like that, you instill this belief system that even all that outside noise can't penetrate. So I really try to drive that home.
Mm. You've obviously worked with a lot of people over the years and different ages, etc. Have you got any thoughts on whether culture plays a part in this?
That is a beautiful question. And I have been able to, in my time, of recently the past year, of doing all these amazing podcasts and meeting very cool men and women, especially in other countries. It is still something that runs rampant through women. It doesn't matter what country, it doesn't matter. It's still something that they all have to deal with. I don't think anyone's exempt, unfortunately.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because for me personally, I think up until I entered the fitness industry, I don't think my perception of my body was as bad, because I came from a sporting background. I had to compete in weight categories, like boxing, etc., martial arts. So I had to keep my weight within a certain category, but that was for sport. So it wasn't about aesthetics. It was about maximizing my opportunities. But it wasn't until I came into this country and my first boss actually said to me, "You're getting on stage." I was a teacher at a fitness convention, and said, "Oh, you're getting on stage. You need to lose weight and get a tan." And I weighed 50 kilos at the time. It was like 100 pounds. Like there was nothing to me. I was like, and that was the first time I actually started presenting. I was told that was what I had to do. And then over the years of being, in group fitness and at the forefront of a lot of things, body was, how you looked mattered, and it didn't matter when I played sport. It mattered in the fitness industry.
Yes. I mean, I've been there too. I completely am able to relate to you of having that feeling and having someone tell me that exact thing. So I'm sorry for our younger selves, and I hope that those women know better and they're doing better now.
But I agree with you. It's like, because my dad passed away recently, and I was back home with my mum, and my mum is 88 next in this year, and she's struggling with her body. Like my mother's nothing to her. She's 5 foot. There is literally nothing to her, and she eats like she really eats. But even it's just the acceptance of her skin, like being, when they get older, it's quite paper thin and age spots and stuff, and I don't recall my mom ever talking about being unhappy with her body till now, the last couple of years. And it's the whole aging process, she doesn't like that we've got osteoporosis in the family. So she's starting to slump a little bit. So again, she's like really unhappy. And I'm thinking, gosh, did she ever share any of that with me when I was younger? And I've just forgotten, that I inherited some of that. Or is this just what I'm hearing now from her,
Well, it could be all the above. I just think maybe having a conversation with her. And, because part of what I do is talking to women about longevity, maybe ask your mom to look back on her life, and she's been healthy this whole time. She's been able to be self-sufficient this whole time. Remind her of the parts where she can be grateful. I think sometimes, coming to terms with how close you are to the end of your life can be very scary, I'm sure. And that's how it's manifesting for her. I don't know. I think especially since you're coming from a place of helping people, you can be there for her and just say, Mom, you're beautiful and you've had a wonderful life. But I think it's important, even at that age, to hear them and hear what they're saying and what they're feeling, and not discount that maybe this is a sudden feeling for them.
Yeah, definitely. So what would you love to see happen with the fitness industry moving forwards?
So many. Well, first of all, we're going to do away with the BMI. That's number one. Number two, I want to do away with any type of fat calipers or body fat testing, because that is just a scare tactic. And that's something that I have never done in my professional career because it's just so horrible. But I would love to have women and men come to us as professionals with two things. One, that weight loss does not have to be the number one goal. And number two, that health and fitness and wellness should not be, I know I need to, I know I should, I know I have to. Hey, I want to work out. I want to feel good. I want to move through this life as healthily and functionally as I possibly can. Can you help me do that? I want that to be the shift in the conversation. So I'm working very hard on working with women in that space. Don't come to me with all this disdain already for yourself. How do I improve my health? How do I feel good? How do I get to this place where I don't have to think about it anymore? It's just something I do.
That just really made me think about how in the industry there are a lot of trainers out there who still, we need to measure improvement. We need SMART goals. And so they're measuring either body fat, body circumference, body weight, etc. When really it's about listening to what the person wants and creating baseline measures based on that, on functionality perhaps, rather than go just because I've been taught these are the tests I need to do at the start of someone's journey. And then at the end, to perhaps think outside the box and come up with different ways of measuring progress.
Yes, please. Please, let's do that. And you said something very, very important, that's what we were taught. We were taught in school, we were taught through whatever certification we have, that those are the measurements. And I cannot tell you, of course I did it too. Listen, I did the before and after pictures as a trainer. I mean, I love that expression. Once we know better, we do better. So I don't begrudge personal trainers, especially if you're new to the industry. Of course you are taught that. It's, what is that acronym? It's like attainable, sustainable results, or I forgot what that acronym is that we learned in school. But anywho, I just think approach a new client as you would want someone to approach you. You want someone to hear you. You want to be heard. You want your goals, and you want to be able to tell that person what's important to you. So if you can start treating your new clients or your new prospective clients, or even your current clients that you've been with for 10 years, have open conversations. What do you want? And if you hear those 3 things that I said before, I should, I have to, I need to, figure out in your way, you don't have to do it my way, but figure out your way to change that conversation to, like you said, what do you want? How can I help you get to what you want?
Yes. I mean, that is something that, I'm even conscious about when it comes to business, because having worked with business coaches that are very monetary driven or whatever it is, and I'm thinking, but not everyone wants that.
Right.
We should be able to create, I think that we want to always see that there is some sort of progress or some sort of transformation, but then I think it's down to us to decide what that transformation needs to be. Even if it just means like, so my knees don't ache going up and down the stairs,
Exactly.
rather than how much, body fat I've lost or something like that. Yeah.
Yes.
But the same for business. Like a lot of business coaches out there are very driven with just certain measures. And I think, well, no, I think it needs to be different. The conversation needs to shift, like you say.
Yes.
Yeah, our language needs to be better. So what, for someone who loves this industry, so we're talking, the listeners are primarily group fitness instructors, obviously some of them personal train as well, and do other things as well. What would your key message or tips be for them?
I would invite them to, like we just talked about, change the conversation. Stop trying to get people in the door or into your services with the promise of weight loss. That is going to go away real soon, and you're not going to have that to hang on to. Don't be afraid. I'm not saying please don't set healthy boundaries with clients, but don't be afraid to get to know them as a person, because how are you going to help them if it's just surface stuff? And I also love to tell fitness and wellness professionals, you are one person. Please don't feel like you have to do everything. It's important for us to have an arsenal of people that we trust recommending. If your client is hurt and they need chiropractor, or they need a PT, or this is something completely out of your scope and they have allergies or eating disorders, you're not equipped to deal with that. So have people, even one person or 2 people in that category that you can refer your clients to, and give yourself a break. You are only one person, and it's okay to ask for help.
I so agree with you on that. It's like, we have to know, right, at some point, this is where our remit ends. And even though like you might know stuff about another area, why not get someone who's a professional? I think we need to look at more collaborative work, because I think as a team, we all want to make a difference in people's lives, right? But if we can, and we all have different strengths that we can bring to the table, and if we can work together, we'll be able to help more people.
Yes.
And help them in a better way as well. It really serves them, right? Rather than like, oh, I know a little bit about this and I know a little bit about this, and I'll just do everything. Yeah.
And accept the fact that it's totally okay to say, I don't know. It's okay. Wouldn't you rather say that than give somebody false information and lead them down a wrong path? I would.
I know, but you see people do it though, Rachel. You're like, just no.
There's a trainer here at my apartment that does it every single day, so I get it.
Yeah.
I just literally have to bite my tongue a lot.
So this is a question that I've asked some of our previous speakers. Aside from this second book, etc., at the time of this interview, what are you focusing on or working on for yourself right now on a personal level?
I am working on being a better listener. I really do believe that I am going to be a global sensation one day. And I want to make sure that I never lose sight that people hear, accept, process, and learn things differently. So that's what I really am working on, is to be a better listener.
Wonderful. It's a fantastic skill, I think, to be able to listen well, definitely. And what does the future hold for you as far as you can see right now?
As far as I can see right now, I definitely see another book in my very near future. I also see me speaking more and more to as many women's groups as I can and sharing my story, sharing my hopes and dreams that we all can be free of restrictive dieting and not loving our bodies just the way they are.
Wonderful, wonderful. I mean, just for our listeners right now, you know, if you're involved in any kind of groups with the women, you know, they can reach out to you, right? If they to speak.
Oh, please do. I love talking about this stuff, and I love talking to other women fitness professionals too. So please, I'm sure you're going to ask me how they can get a hold of me, but yes, please reach out. I'm always happy to have a conversation with anyone.
Wonderful, wonderful. Because I can already think of several women networking groups that I've been a part of, and I know people are part of, that are run on Zoom, and they're always looking for speakers. So I can put you in touch with those groups, definitely. You know, I just think, you know, for me, it's very much like the approach to yoga that I teach is very much about, you got to do you. You know, it's not about you trying to fit you into a style of yoga. You know, you've got to, the yoga's got to work for you. And I think similarly with life as a whole and our acceptance of ourselves, we've got to know who we are and accept who we are, you know, and that we're all on a journey, I think.
We are.
So what's one final question to wrap up?
Okay.
Could you come up, what's one word that sums up group fitness for you, Rachel?
Oh, community.
Community. Oh, no, it is though, isn't it? It is so much that.
I love so much that my mom has been doing Jazzercise for over 30 years. And she has some of the best girlfriends that also, I mean, so it's a community. They're there for each other. They have fun together. They keep each other motivated. So I think group fitness is a beautiful community.
Definitely. My mum on Sunday, my brother took her to the park. They live in Bangkok. And he took her to the park, and she's not been, she does Tai Chi in the park, and she's not been, so it's obviously not to music, but it's still a group, and she's not been since pre-COVID.
Oh no.
And so she rocked up with my brother, and her teacher was there, and some of her friends were there, and I was like, oh, it's so nice.
It is nice.
Because of the community, like you say, you know, the group setting. Setting. Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time, Rachel. And
thank you.
For listeners, all Rachel's contact details will be in the description for this episode. So they're all beneath, and you can click through. Do reach out to her if you want a conversation, or if you think that, you know, she's a good fit for any women's groups for speaking as well. And click and follow her.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.